Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and Mr. Chair, Mr. Anilji, Ashish Anil. It's a privilege. It's sort of a homecoming always for me to come back to ELET's CSDMS and Ravi's program. Because I started learning a lot from these interactions from this program way back in 2005 onwards, and now attending more conferences and workshops across Africa and all emerging markets, and it's always a privilege to come back and share some thoughts. Can I have some lights on, please, because it gives me a little bit of dark mood that's prevailing in the country at the moment. So I'll interact with the audience a little bit, that we are in the lighter part of the world, and these are on the darker sides of the world. And can I ask, how many people are, directly related with financial services or banks? I don't presume any of the bankers are here. Can you raise one hand? I see one hand. I can count. Shrey Sahaj is part of this financial services. So that's why I will take you through a little bit of journey. Okay, Avishek Eco, yes, sorry. Two of my colleagues in the podium and one or two hands. So that's why it will be very critical to take you through a little bit of a journey. So with the permission of the chair, so I might transgress, so just knock me down if I'm too passionate and carry on for eternity, sort of. I was initially in a bank, ANZ. Later on, I moved into international trading. And that got me a bit of the outside of the world and what was lacking in the country and how it prospered. And I was fortunate that along with ITC, Adani was even not there, and Tata, we started the commodities trading way back in 1992, 1993, and later on it started doing that. Then I moved into digital inclusion, and one of my best friends and guide forever, Ashish Anil, has been one of the architects in doing the telecom inclusion, which pioneered into e-governance and a whole lot of services down the line. It's unfurling as yet. Around the same time in 2001 and all that, the world failed, and even body felt that we have done enough. The world is not growing sufficiently. So let's go for a little bit of inclusive growth. And so Millennium Development Goals came out on that. 2005 was the year declared the year of the financial MFIs, rather microfinance. And from that time onwards, in particular, people started thinking of financial inclusion. And it became a buzzword all across the world, everywhere. Even today, when the G20 is meeting, and further down the line in Rio, financial inclusion, financial inclusion, financial inclusion. And during the last 3 weeks, this is the fourth conference I'm going to address the same topic. And it's important to understand that before I come, it's taking a little bit of time. So I'll give you the figures. Today we have about roughly, Anilji, correct me if I'm wrong, 930 million of mobile subscribers. I have 3 SIMs. So even if you discount at 50% of that, on 500 million, or roughly about 450 million active mobile penetration we have. Okay, so let's assume even 600 million. What sort of bank account we have? Effective 200 million. And that again, if you compare that, I may have 7 bank accounts, Ashish might be having 5, and all of you might be having number of accounts. So if you discount that, so effectively, and what number of financial no-frill account we have opened? I just had a session last week with Dr. Chakravarti. We have always animated discussion, sometimes with Dr. Rangarajan also. 100 million. Effective usage, 14%. What was the cost in acquiring such huge number of, and how many of them are using? As a huge audit. Now, we have started saying from last year onwards that it's not enough. Opening of bank accounts is just part of the journey. We must give them credit. And the banks were mandated to put in 500 rupees credit to make it financial inclusion happen. How many banks are giving that? Very few. Sometimes they are giving 10,000 even to some of them, and it's in a pilot cases, not all. So it's a long, long journey, and unless worldwide, if you talk about CGAP, World Bank, I'm telling you G20, every nation's in thinking about that. And mind you, even in the most developed countries, we are not talking about the European crisis today or US crisis today, but every country has some of the unbanked population of some of the darker shades of the population which is not getting the fruits of the liberalization and development in those countries as well. But when we come to my slides at certain point of time, if not, my presentation would have been to differentiate and position ourselves as we stand today vis-a-vis the BRIC countries or Indonesia or a couple of other countries. I'm not comparing ourselves with the developed nations. It really doesn't work. I mean, Spain's economy vis-a-vis. Why? Because today we are the fourth largest economy in the world. Despite dollar has risen or to some extent, we are still a $1 trillion economy. It's going to be affected. And the last month, there was a furor all across the globe when Bangladesh Deputy Governor came out with a statement that even in South Asia standards, we are better than India and Pakistan. Leave aside Pakistan. Torture, different territory altogether. In BRICS parameters, if you compare China, we're nowhere. If you compare with Brazil, nowhere. If you compare the population side, we are very close to China. Roughly about. The hinterland China has today, if the subcontinent, if you take into account, and the way we influence, barriers are being broken slowly. I've been to Bangladesh. The euphoria or the energy or the looking forward to India being the leader in some respects, in most of the respects, is very much there. The yearning of the people of Pakistan that, yes, we need to be closer together. What Brazil has been able to do to take whole of Latin America in a reversal of tide from 2001, and that's why our people are regularly traveling to Brazil to learn how they have made the CCT or conditional cash transfer, make it possible on the ground, Bolsa Family and many other projects, which was started way back in Mexico. It's happening, it's having a tremendous effect on the economy as such, financial inclusion leading to financial dependence. What is the number of bank branches today we have, functional? As per records, 93,000. What is the bank branches available in China? What is the bank branches available in Brazil? I'm not talking about Russia. What is the number of ATMs today? 78,000 effectively. It's more 83,000, but you can count 20% not having, it's not functioning properly, always, like telecom. What is the number of POS in circulation today in India? So if you compare in those terms, whether it has its population or no population, we are nowhere in compared to China, even lower than Brazil and other places. So another reason why, because they have started the Payment and Settlement Act in 1999. They have infused the entire municipal corporation with the postal union, with the banks, to form this consortium for a financial superhighway, which we very successfully did during our 2004-2005 era of telecom inclusion, digital inclusion, to sufficient extent. And the way it is getting transformed, Anilji mentioned about that. I started my journey with BSNL way back in 2002 onwards for PCO revolution sort of in India. If it gets transformed with the gelling factor, we have made the people ripe for activity. They're yearning for more and more financial services, but not getting avenues. Today there are people here who can issue smart cards galore all across the nation. Why do they swipe? Connectivity is almost reached to most of the taluka level, I believe in panchayat level, maybe in some sort. I mean, it's better than most of the other countries where financial services has taken a tremendous leap forward. At least semblance of that. There are always non-deliveries of issues, but I'm saying it's not because the banks have been banks. Worldwide, there has been a fallout. Which model is to take over? Because, silo-wise, financial services has been the domain of the central bankers, finance ministry. Somewhere, except in Kenya, because there was no legacy, new system, and because of the nature of the population, hugely migrant population, M-Pesa took off. Now they are moving on to M-Kesho. I'm not going into details of that because that's my regular bread and butter. We travel check out the country and find out which model is the best. What Smart did way back in Philippines, what Cambodia did in Wing. And if you look at Pakistan today, Telenor and M-Pesa is rip-roaring business. You don't talk about Roshan in Afghanistan. I'm not talking about the Matansi account and the Standard Bank's account opening. They call bank shop. It's like the way Subidha or ITZ cash outlets has happened. So it's a framework. You have to attack from the central. Ministry of Finance, Ministry of DIT. Now today, when I talk about, the way it is opening up with the ATM markets. Today you're allowed to have 5 transactions. Previously, all were silos. No bank to bank only. Interoperability was not there and all that. Now we are going for a white labeling of ATMs. I am going to put up the ATMs, and Reserve Bank of India permitted the banks to node out one sponsorship banks only, so that ATM become off the balance sheet of banks. So this framework that we are talking about, it's taking it too long a time for India to leapfrog. And apart from many other issues or problems that we are thinking today or talking about, sometimes castigating, blaming each other all the time. One of the main drivers of the economy, the financial services economy, cannot happen unless we attack financial inclusion as one of the main thrust of the policy initiatives. People need empowerment. People need access to finance. I'm coming to that. People need the basic forms of transfer of transaction based out of remittances. The first form of exchange from the day civilization has been, before the bartering system was, that cow is to fruits or something of that sort, whatever you call it. Money, exchange, remittances. What it takes today, even today. But if you go to SBI account and some other account that has been opened and all that, yes, there is a debate now. If SBI charges 30 rupees, why would I pay 100 rupees only? This has been illustrated in many a form by all these countries that I'm talking about. Because if I have to compare ourselves today and the services that we have and the Airtel taking over the whole of the African and taking on the challenge to MTN and other places, we will be able to give them better service delivery through India, provided we have this basic framework in place and empower the nation and the have-nots down the line. A very simple solution would have been, I've spoken to SBI, most of the banks I'm talking to and all that. What is the bane in having, how is to travel? I used to travel before our credit card, we started using credit cards in India. How? Can anyone tell me? Way back in 1992, how you used to transact through credit cards? Or before that? Traveler's checks. Today nobody does that. And most of the banks, even state banks say, "Arey, ye kahan se laya aapne? Ye to khatam ho chuki hai." And then the credit cards came. They used to have a Bradma this thing. They used to swipe and then call up a center. Hello, Mr. Sengupta has come here. So half the time lines were not there. Lines were not going through. That mobile revolution was not happening there. So after 3 tries, and I was counting stars. Yes, ठीक है, 3,000 रुपया उठाना है, ठीक है, ले लो. And then when line did not go through, they used to have a 3,000 rupees or 4,000 rupees cap on depending on the particular restaurant. They used to dish out the cash, risk borne by the card issuing company. And today now we have started swiping. What is the level of credit card deliveries? Beyond you 50 kilometers go, no credit card will be issued. You have to have a Delhi address or a Calcutta address or maybe a tier 1 to a 2 cities address. What is the smart card deliveries? Co-branding of cards. As yet, our postal union haven't been able to come out with the postal union cards. Go to East Africa, the Kenya, you find out that Post Bank has gone through a revolutionary transformation in the last 8 years. I'm not talking about Brazil anymore. Why couldn't we do it? We are coming out with advertisements on all that. So these are there for the taking. As of date, 155,000 post offices. And the postman is the most nearest one who has every household data more or less. Know by the name of the family. We are reinventing wheels. We are not capitalizing on that. So these are the main issues that why I've just covered most of the things. So I'm just giving you these slides. I think it's discernible. Look at the comparison that we have in most of the countries. This is South Asia comparison, what I was saying. So I've told you, now you go through the slides very widely. This has a age group. This has a education base. And I was referred to Mr. Atiur Rahman's statement. This is the comparison. I'll leave it to the organizer. If whoever wants to undertake a little bit of study on financial inclusion and where we stand today, you can look forward to that. And the way it is moving ahead, I can tell you that the whole of the nation, because in India we have certain, that the success, and we being one of the biggest economy. I mean, previously, like I can share Dr. Aluwalia's statements like that. Previously, when he used to go, another Indian, either jao, take this queue and all that. Now, when we gave it a bag, we are being welcomed almost on a red carpet. The whole of Africa is asking for India to take the leadership. The amount of work that we have done. Externalization of the economy. When Barack Obama comes in, his first idea is to how much I'm being able to cover India to create maybe 10,000 American jobs. We don't think in those terms as yet. And if you look at the Indian diaspora and the more and more jobs that will be creating out of African countries or in Bangladesh or in other places, the inclusion will be carried forward in a much more externalization factor also. Slowly, we started thinking of that. But unless you have more and more people drawn into this thing, NREGA process, the UID card process, I just go to that slide. I think I've taken enough and hinted on most of the items. And anybody can go through the slide with the comparative data and all this. I'll just come to that. Is everything lost for us today? Initially that the title wise, if you go to the title, yes, we are in a dangerous poise, but demand vis-a-vis the aspiration level. People are demanding more and more, because you have already ignited or incited us or excited us with the possibilities that India is going to offer. So it's but natural that more and more people will be demanding and more. It's unfair to tell them that, hang on, next 10 years we'll be one of the best countries in the world. So demand and all that, you have to empower them and make it happen on the ground. And the states, we have a serious state and this problem. Thankfully, Pranab Mukherjee is likely to be the next president after all these phenomena and all that. But coming on to that aspect, it's driven by the states. I cannot come out. It has happened with our telecom inclusion or e-governance issues also. I design a framework and somebody is there. In this particular slide, the Indian Overseas Bank and Madam Joylalita, the Chief Minister, stated that I am in the 7th state of inclusion. And what is the status of the state development aspect? Tamil Nadu, always in the 3rd or 4th region. In fact, I asked Honorable Chief Minister in Bombay last week that you are the first one of the state in the Indian nation for maybe God knows for how many years now. Why is it that you are not in this financial inclusion as at that stage? You should be take the leadership forward. So those nuances are also happening and probably will come out with the same solution. I have stated that. Look at the amount of money. I think 165,000 crore, roughly about 165 billion US dollars we are investing every year in social. Is there any accountability? Yes, there are two ways of accounting. You're investing in social assets. Like the Brazilian government did that, if I give you $45, I'm investing in the health of our mothers so that their children are going to school regular basis. And I'm investing in the future of the economy. And that's how, after four and now the 3rd year running, the Brazilian president is getting elected unopposed and the highest rating in the political list. Dividend is paying. I think we have to be patient. At the same time, every efforts need to be validated, vindicated, and said that enough amount of pilots have happened in financial services delivery also. Let us come with the combined framework. The nation is waiting for us to deliver. Compare to the 6 or 7 nations I have mentioned, so that we can cover and carry on about our journey, our more inclusive growth. And unless financial inclusion is empowered with the policy initiatives, in our case, it has to be government-led. And the government is taking the right decision. I end with one theory. We had a brainstorming last week also. There's the government looking at the scenario or the bricks, what I mentioned today, that decided that ATMs by the banks will now be decided by the government. They want to leapfrog. Now there is a consternation. Some of the bankers were saying that why I would be dictated by the ministry to how many ATMs are doing. The dictate is simply because you are sitting on your own profitability issues and all that. Already it has been assigned A brown leveling call that bank has decided to put in the STMs. Rest of the country is done, rest of the work is done by somebody else. Your cost of operation has gone down. It's a shared on a almost like a dual responsibility. If you can't move, the government has to move. The way I was saying that slowly it is taking a shape that the financial superhighway has to be my baby. I have to take the call, and accordingly we have to move forward. Thank you very much.